Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Community Church. We are a welcoming congregation where we strive to transform ourselves and the world through love, wonder, and connection. My name is Elena Brooks Perkins, and I use she, her pronouns. I serve on the worship committee and the nominating committee, and I bake things for the bake sale, which is in a few weeks, and you should definitely be here for. We're talking about listening today, the deep listening that's needed to find a calm center when times are hard. We'll learn about and practice some tools to help us connect to the deepest parts of ourselves and each other. Now Amy's going to come up and talk about our auction.
Good morning. Welcome to October, my favorite month in my favorite season. And what does this time of year bring? Auction. Yes. I am Amy McKnight. I use she, her pronouns. I serve on the stewardship committee, the worship arts team. You'll find me at Baker's Dozen every month, handbell choir, and I am your auction chair. Today, we are 27 days away from the opening of our annual fall auction. This event serves as our biggest fundraiser each year that is not pledge-based. By the close of our fiscal year in June, our 2023 auction had brought in over $31,000. So thank you all. We have many new members and friends this year who have not experienced this yet, so let's get into just a few quick details. Our auction is an online event where you can bid on delivered food and beverages, because we have some really good craft brewers in this gang. Themed parties. Last year we had a Grease sing-along party to the movie Grease. We have dinners, family game nights, tickets to sporting events like the Richmond Flying Squirrels or U of R, men's basketball, gift cards for restaurants and hair salons, services, crafts, vacation opportunities, and so much more. What a great way to support the church and have a lot of fun. We launch auction on Saturday, November 2nd at 7 p.m., and you will have a week to bid and outbid and rebid for the items you want. The auction closes on Saturday, November 9th at 7 p.m. But to get to that point, I need your help. Beginning on Monday of this week, that's tomorrow, you will be able to start loading your donations into the auction online catalog. Look for the links to do that on Facebook, if you're on the Facebook group, the Stewardship Corner email, which comes out on Tuesdays, and our regular e-news that comes out on Thursdays. You will also be able to register yourself to bid if you have never registered to do that before. If you've already registered to bid, every year I just copy you over and take you into the new auction. So if you've done that, you don't have to worry about it. There are very simple directions to follow, and of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I appreciate those who have understood the assignment and have already reached out with their ideas and plans to enter events or things into the auction. In past auctions, we have had congregation members offer leaf raking, 2-hour sessions of garden help, craft classes, cooking classes. Whatever your talent, treasure, and time are, you can participate. For those on Facebook, I do highlight catalog items to help you know what is going to be available to be bid on. I've already shared that the McKnight Smoker will once again be in service. We are doing our 6 smoked turkey breasts that will be auctioned off and will be able to be picked up the day before Thanksgiving. So your Thanksgiving turkey will be all done. But remember, this is a 2-part request, because come Saturday, November 2nd at 7 p.m., I hope you will begin bidding on all the fabulous items in our catalog. Last year we had over 120 items to bid on. So plan out your donations. Please read the emails that come out, as they will have important information, especially for our new participants. Our goal this year is $28,000, 27 days till launch. Let's do this.
Thank you, Amy. Whether you're here for the first time or the 1000th time, welcome. Whatever you are facing in your own life, welcome. This is a place where we try our best to be real with one another, to get through hard things together, and to remind ourselves and one another of the values that ground and center us, motivate and move us. Whoever you are, whatever your faith journey, whomever you love, you are welcome here. We welcome all who seek to know the sacred and all who seek to make our world more just. Our commitment is to be together in covenant, so please join me in our affirmation of who this community is, beginning with that all-important word. Love is the message of this church, and service is our way. This is our great covenant together, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Let's join in singing our opening hymn, Wake Now My Senses. It's number 298 in the gray hardback hymnal.
Join me in our chalice lighting words as Graham comes and helps lights the chalice. Here today in this place with these people, may we listen so that we can hear. May we hear so that we can feel. May we feel so that we can know. And may we know so that we can change ourselves and this world. May this chalice we light our way. Join me now in a time of prayer and meditation. Find a comfortable place for your body, whatever that may need to be for you. Notice your breathing and aim to find your center. Take a moment to just be together. We hold in our hearts so many beloveds who are struggling, who are surviving, who are putting one foot in front of the other as best they can in these times. We love and honor them all. For the rest of our meditation time, we will share a song, I Am Listening by Leah Morris. As we come together from our homes, from our lives, we bring with us a variety of joys and sorrows and fears and hopes. We take time in our service now to honor those big feelings together. We share this as a contemplative time, each of us given an opportunity to share with the community what lifts us up and weighs us down. So today we will light candles of joy and hope to lift up the bright things in our lives, and we will place stones to hold our sorrows and fears, to ease the weight from our spirits. In a moment, I will invite folks to come forward to participate in this. But first, if you're online, please use the chat to participate in our ritual. Write your name and the word stone or candle, and we'll add a stone or candle to our altar for you. If you're in the room and would like someone to light a candle for you, raise your hand. Emily would like a candle lit for her, and Gail would as well. If you would like someone to place a stone for your sorrow, raise your hand. Albert, Jamie, Inigo. Now, anyone who would like to place a stone or light a candle for themselves are invited to come forward. If you'd like to light a candle, come around this way and line up to receive your candle. If you'd like a stone, come this way, and you can switch over when you're done. 2 stones for Allison. No, I already did place 2 stones. Okay. And we'll light a candle for Kevin and a candle for Leslie. Now we'll add 1 stone for all the sorrows and fears that remain in our hearts unshared, and 1 candle for all the joys and pleasant things that need lifting up. I invite you now to sing our sung prayer response, Find a Stillness.
Hi there. My name is Adina Danuve. I use she or they pronouns. And I want to know who here has ever had a secret? Okay, pretty much every hand, right? Now, sometimes a secret is something that you know you're not supposed to tell anyone or someone specific, right? Like if there was going to be a surprise party for Jonathan later, I probably shouldn't go up to Jonathan and be like, I know about your surprise party. Don't worry if you weren't invited. There is no surprise party. His birthday already happened this year. But other times, a secret can be something about you that maybe you're afraid to tell someone. I've done this before, but as Amy said, there's new people. I have to tell you, when I was younger, I loved Barney the dinosaur. Now, some of you might know who Barney is, and for those who don't, it was a show about an imaginary giant purple dinosaur who hangs out with kids and sings songs and does cool art projects. And if you know me well, you're probably thinking, Adina, that sounds like you as a purple dinosaur. But the fact that I liked Barney was one of my secrets, something about myself that I didn't want people to know. That's because at the height of my Barney obsession, I was about 13 years old. Way beyond the age that liking Barney was considered cool. And deep down, I knew it was okay to like Barney, right? Liking Barney didn't hurt anyone else. I couldn't change it. It was the way I was, it's the way I am. But the things that people said about people who like Barney made me feel like they wouldn't like me if they knew that about me, so I kept it to myself. And many people feel things about themselves that they are scared to share sometimes. I know some people in this room have been around a bunch of people who go to one kind of church and maybe have been scared to say you are you. Has that happened? Little nods. Okay, the brave people showed up today. I thought the people who would say, okay, I know that some people in this room have been told maybe to wear a certain type of clothes or have a certain haircut that they didn't want, and they were scared because they didn't want to do it, right? Yeah, a few more nods. And I know that there's some people in this room who've been told that they should only love or marry certain types of people or be certain types of people, and they didn't want to, but they were scared to say so. Now, aside from the Barney thing, when I was younger, I realized that I was one of those people who might be told that I couldn't marry who I loved. And I was scared about sharing that part of myself because I knew that people might say things that weren't nice to me or not want to be my friend anymore because I was queer. I went to an all-girls middle school. Like, I'm telling you, it was tough. And it made me sad. So sad that one day later, high school, a friend came to me and asked me what was wrong. They had noticed that I hadn't been myself. My nickname in high school was Bubbles, right? And I was not being bubbly at all. And this friend that I trusted and that knew me pretty well came and asked what was wrong, and the words started bubbling up inside of me. And I told them what I'd been feeling and what I had realized about myself and what I was scared of. And do you know what happened? They listened. They listened. And oh my goodness, did it feel good to have someone listen to me when I had been worried about this all this time. They listened and they told me that I was loved, and they told me that no matter what happened from here on out, they were my friend and they would always be there to listen. Now, many years ago, well before this conversation, there were some people who were part of the queer community, lesbian, bisexual, gay, transgender, everything in between and beyond, and they realized that being silent about who they were actually gives power to the people who are being mean. It made the people who didn't support them believe that they were right. So these people in the queer community realized that by saying out loud who they are, it takes some of that power back. And when they shared this part of themselves, some people listened. So when you're talking about telling people who you truly are, even when you're scared, we call that coming out. Can we all say that? Coming out. So after a while, there ended up being a yearly day where we signify that people share this sometimes, parts of who they are. You should be free to share that, and when they do, people should listen. And so it was called National Coming Out Day. Makes sense, right? Now here's my last funny joke. National Coming Out Day, the first one was in 1988. And I just so happened to be born in 1988. So I joke sometimes that when I was born, I was so queer that they realized they had to make a whole day for me to tell people every year, right? Ha, thank you for laughing. Okay, jokes aside, every year, October 11th, National Coming Out Day is set aside for people to share who they are. And it's also set aside as a day for people to listen. You were listening. We're going to talk more about listening deeply in the service, but the thought that I hope you take from this is the moment where sharing, when someone comes to you to share, it is important to hear as well, and to remind them that they are loved. Now I hope you'll listen to me, because now it's time to head to class. Thank you.
There's a height difference. So today we're making a special request and moving our usual share the plate to the first week this month instead of the fourth week. We're asking you to please donate as generously as you can to the UUA Disaster Relief Fund. This is a fund specifically designed to give grants to UUs, UU congregations, and their communities to support their needs after a major natural disaster. Today, the fund is needed to support many in the aftermath of the deadliest mainland hurricane since Katrina, Hurricane Helene. Your money will go directly to people in need in North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Southern Virginia, Georgia, and Florida. The need is great, with many people losing everything and an extended timeline for even getting utilities back up and running. May we give in love and in hope. give to life and ministry with your time, talent, treasure, and trust. These gifts will truly do important work in the world. Our first reading this morning is What Do I Do in the War by Amir Peter O'Loughlin. Because I cannot carry your dead child, I sweep the deck of my friend and fling the dry pine needles to the messenger breeze, and the strike of my broom down the steps to the sea is the shovel for digging the grave, and the birdsong is the keening of her family clinging companions. Instead of joining you to claw the rubble in search of your buried mother, I will bring bread to my neighbor, who will serve it to her children. And I chant the name in rhythm to the shouts and earth movers, with the warm loaf in my hand and the autumn air gripping my chest. I will serve tea to this welcome company and offer a fragrant, poignant, infinite wish for peace, as Assalamu alaikum with each touch of the cup to silent lips, while you grip your phone for news and prepare to sleep on the dark roads upon carpets that once had homes. Nothing in me can help you know if your daughter is alive or dead, or which of those is worse. So I will whisper, Ba Shalom, with each step in this mountain from where my strength comes, and where my cries are left, and where the eagles loft and lift. You cannot bear witness to my sorrow for those I love whom I do not know, so I will ring the Japanese garden bell to reach all those unjustly taken. I will listen to its resounding song, which ears hear for 10 slow breaths, but which trees hear forever. And I pledge to each of you who suffers now a place in its vibrating prayer. Our second reading is from the Lord's Prayer Book, How We Find Heaven on Earth, by Wayne Mueller. In Northern California, there is a fog in the morning. As I write this, looking out my window, I know that the mountains and trees, the grasses and the sky, remain hidden in the fog, but I cannot see them with my eyes. Instead, I feel their presence in my body. I know the shapes that lie behind the fog for having seen them, watching them emerge again and again. It is a primitive kind of faith, based on repetition and proof, but the kind of faith that the fog will indeed lift. Slowly, as the sun warms the earth, the fog begins to clear, and as it does, outlines appear, colors, textures, and finally, the sky and the sun are quietly revealed, and I can see them all. This is prayer. This is deep, faithful listening, waiting for what is hidden to be revealed. Prayer is not words. Prayer is what happens when you listen and wait beneath the words for the outline of heaven to emerge.
The last few weeks have been unsettling, to say the least. A hurricane took an unexpected path and destroyed towns and homes in the mountains of Appalachia, 2,000 feet above sea level and 300 miles from the nearest ocean. It's been a circus out there in the US political world, with a constant barrage of political ads and news and texts and emails begging us for money from all kinds of candidates for all kinds of offices. Global politics are awful, particularly in the Middle East, where tomorrow marks the one-year anniversary of Hamas's attack on the civilians in Israel, which killed more than 1,200 people, and which started a conflict that has killed more than 41,500 people in Palestine, and has now begun a conflict with Israel and Lebanon, who are bombing each other as we speak. Add to that complexity, it is right in the middle of the Jewish high holidays, the celebration of New Year, a time to reflect, repent, repair any harms over the last year. This is a particularly hard time to be reminded that Israel is run by greedy, reckless leaders that don't represent the entirety of the Jewish people. It's particularly challenging when too many people don't know the difference between Judaism and Israel and blame their Jewish neighbors for the conflict. Not to mention that it's still not safe. It's definitely not a safe time to come out as gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual, and more. But National Coming Out Day is still this week. Being human is complex, and there are so many stories and ideas being shared by so many people. It's hard to know what's fact and what's propaganda these days. So how do you cut through the noise and deeply listen? Listen to that inner voice, or to those around you who are aching to be heard deeply, understood deeply, loved deeply. One of the programs we hold here is UU Wellspring, created by some wonderful folks up in Rochester, New York, but is regularly updated. The pillars of this program are all about deep listening. We encourage regular spiritual practices, engaging also the reading and the writing in a journal for the topics that we talk about. We encourage everyone to participate in spiritual direction, but what we require is regular participation in a small group twice a month, where we gather for 2 hours to be together and reflect on a topic of importance to Unitarian Universalism. In this time, we practice deep listening. It means that we listen to what others are sharing without interrupting, without asking probing questions, without thinking about what we're going to say in response to them. We listen without expectation or obligation to respond. It takes practice, but it opens a deeper part of you when you can share this way, when you can listen this way. It makes sharing easier and the understanding so much deeper. It's truly a gift to meet people in this way, to learn about them, to love them deeply because of it. But it takes practice. It's a skill you have to learn, a skill you have to build. So on Thursday, I went to my pottery class. I know this doesn't sound like it goes, but it does. On Thursday, I went to my pottery class, and it is really, truly fabulous to be in a room full of other beginners also trying to build skills. We're learning to throw pottery on a wheel, and all of us are working on different particular skills and sharing our triumphs and failures. The part I'm struggling with right now is properly pulling the walls of the pot up to a height where it needs to be literally anything but a lump of clay, without then pulling them so unevenly that they go flop, flop, flop. The problem is that I'm not actually super good at centering, and centering is the first and most basic step of pottery. Nothing else works if your clay is not centered on the wheel. The centrifugal force of the wheel going so fast will pull even the slightest off balance way out of proportion. So I thought, I guess since I can't center, today I will be practicing centering. Okay. I really need to get this centered. Okay, so first, to center your clay, you thump down your lump of clay on the wheel and you shove it into the center. And then it spins really fast and you hold it really still. But it doesn't always work, so you have to do all these other things and do it again. And actually, anyone who's not me, who's done the wheel throwing any more times than I have, even just at the intermediate level, centering is like 1 minute. You do it, it's done. Me, no. I had 2 hours to throw, and I got 3 pieces centered, and only 2 came off the wheel. So there you go. One of these lumps of clay did not want to get centered, though. It was not having it. So I almost threw my hands up in the air, all the mud flying everywhere. I did not. I took a break, and I sighed when my lump was particularly off balance, with a big old thing this way. I just let myself be frustrated for a minute. I was really determined to do it, though. So I dug down in my bones, and I reminded myself of all the lessons that I had learned to find the center of the clay. So after taking some deep breaths and letting my frustration go, I leaned into it, literally leaning into it. I concentrated my entire self on bringing this asymmetrical lump into center, and I did it. I managed to practice pulling the walls, and I even got a cylinder out of it. Yes! After I finished, the woman sitting next to me, she looked over and congratulated me. She said, "I didn't think that was savable." But I didn't give up. So what does this have to do with deep listening? Well, deep listening is more than hearing with our ears. Deep listening is about how we hear our true voices, how we center ourselves, to hear that still small voice within. Often it's hard to hear that voice or find our center, partly because our center is always shifting, and sometimes big, horrible things happen and throw us off center. Or other times it's just a lot of noise in our heads and in our hearts that make it hard to hear. But with determination, with grit, with remembering the lessons that we've learned in the past, we can find our way back to center. It's certainly not easy. It takes practice and a willingness to stick with something when it's hard. And finding a sense of center is hard. It's like training for a big hike or studying for a test. You have to build up the muscles and fill your head with all the information so you can just act without too much thinking or too much strain. That's what spiritual practice is for. It builds up your centering muscles. Maybe your centering muscles are your arms and your shoulders, braced against your knees or your sides to force that clay into center. Well, pottery is becoming my spiritual practice, so that's mine. Maybe your centering muscles are your legs pushing the ground, walking, running, biking, moving. Maybe your centering muscles are your lungs, contracting and expanding, moving the air through you. Maybe pushing air through your voice box. Maybe your centering muscles are your thoughts that you put down in ink or in paint or in bits and bytes on the computer. Which of your muscles, metaphorically, needs stretching and strengthening? What do you do that reminds you to listen, not to the noise of the outside world, but to the inner teacher, as Parker Palmer calls it in his book, A Hidden Wholeness? He says, we all have an inner teacher whose guidance is more reliable than anything we can get from a doctrine, ideology, collective belief system, institution, or leader. So how do you make space for that inner teacher to speak? There are infinite ways to practice deep listening, to practice spiritual practices, as many as there are people and the limits of their imaginations, and so many benefits. Dag Hammarskjöld writes, "The more faithfully you listen to the voice within you, the better you will hear what is sounding outside." When the world is a little bit on fire, metaphorically, well, actually, also literally, when the world is on fire, it is so easy to be distracted by the flames and not hear the important instructions on how to escape the fire. When we're distracted by the flames, we don't pay attention to who set the fire or what it takes to put it out. We get very focused on the light and heat and noise. But when you can listen faithfully to your inner teacher, you can make better sense of that outside world. So I invite you now to practice with me. Some call this prayer, some call it meditation, some call it sitting and waiting for this time to be done. Whatever you call it, I invite you into a time of silence. Feel your breath. Listen deeply. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. My hands are wide open. My heart is wide open. To see what I may be. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. Amen. I invite you to rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, Love Knocks and Waits for Us to Hear. It is number 1029 in the TL softcover hymnal. Because it's fairly new to us, Jonathan will play it through before we get singing. And if you're singing from the hymnal, we're singing verses 1, 3, and 4. Closing, I invite you to reach out to those near you, however you're comfortable, hands, elbows, whatever you need to feel connected to those around you. When you go, listen deeply, love deeply, be deeply present. When you go, go in peace. Salam and shalom.
Leave this place knowing that you are good and knowing that you are loved.
Take your dark and your light and your love from this place and share them with the world. Stay safe until we meet again. Amen.
Thank you, everyone. Please enjoy coffee hour outside. Have a great week.
Well, so what the last tool they gave us was to be able to hide this in the corner, but they've taken away now. And now maybe a different. I changed it. Oh, you changed it.